Welcome back from the ad break, viewers at home. You are still watching Prime Life. It is a beautiful Monday, and we did say that we will be having some motivation by Jabu Zwane, and he is going to be speaking to us about getting back on the grind after all the public holidays. Thank you so much for joining us, Jabu, on Prime Life.
Hi, good evening, Aisha. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us on Prime Life. You may take the stage.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, good evening. Welcome to Monday Motivation. And I hope you've had a great weekend. And I hope you really are really getting back on the grind. Well, the topic actually today is getting unstuck, which can help you then to get on the grind. And the reason why I chose the topic as a way of ushering this message of getting back on the grind, it is because so many of us are feeling stuck. A lot of my clients I speak to, even myself in many, many stages of my life, I have felt stuck. I felt that I'm not moving forward. I'm not seeing any progress. I'm not getting back. I'm not getting rewarded for the work that I do. And there was something that I needed to do a bit more to get myself out of the situation I was in. And the starting point that I want to discuss with you this evening is, first of all, as you know, I speak a lot about mindsets. And as I often describe, that mindsets are structured categories of thinking that lead to an outcome, whether you are aware of it or not. Now, one of the reasons why we end up getting stuck is because there's a lack of clarity most of the time in the way that we think, in the way that we view our lives. There's a lack of clarity sometimes in terms of what it is that we're doing that is making us be stuck. And of course, a lack of clarity in terms of what the next steps are that we need to take to get out of the situation that we find ourselves in. Now, one of the leading mindset specialists in the world is a lady by the name of Dr. Carol Dweck, and she's based in the USA. She's one of the leading scientists from Stanford University, and she wrote a book that is titled Mindset: The Psychology of Success. And in that book, I quote, she says that becoming is better than being. The fixed mindset makes you be concerned with how you will be judged. Growth mindset helps you to think about what you need to grow to achieve the things that you want. And I think it's a very crucial mindset to understand that a lot of the times we think things are fixed. We think that we are fixed. And because of that, we can then tend to feel powerless against whatever challenge that are coming our way. If you're thinking, I'm not going to succeed because I'm poor, I'm not going to succeed because I'm a woman, I'm not going to succeed because I'm a man, or I'm in South Africa, or I don't have money, or I don't have the skill, whatever it is, the more that you recite whatever version of helplessness that you are selling to yourself, the more stuck you feel, the more powerless you feel, the less empowered you are then to get out of the situation. And so the starting point of getting stuck is to identify mindsets that keep you stuck, ways of thinking that keep you stuck. What do you attribute to the reasons why you're stuck? Do you think that you don't have enough knowledge, enough skill, enough resources, enough support? You are in the wrong environment, you are in the wrong career, you are this and that, and all of those things. What sort of weight do you give it? What sort of weight, power do you allot to your portion to those? If you apportion more power to external factors, you discount your ability to get unstuck. So the first starting point is internally, you have to empower yourself. You got to start to look into yourself and say, what skills do I have? What knowledge do I have? Even though I may feel stuck right now, perhaps I'm a lot more leveraged than I ever was when I started. And I always say this to people, if you're going to be starting over, you must not think that you're starting over. You must think of, I'm actually stepping up from where I am. Because you need to recognize the work that you've done up until this point, the resources you've got up until this point, the knowledge that you've acquired up until this point, the body of maybe support that you've got up until this point, and not ever look at your need to start over or to get unstuck through the lenses of time that was wasted, what you have lost, and in your mind start thinking that you're catching up. The moment you feel like you're catching up, you're falling behind, you become powerless instead of feeling empowered. But you must actually look at what's in front of you as motivation to change. One of the questions that can help you to propel you to get unstuck is, do I want to live the rest of my life this way? If you've got 25 years, 10 years even, or 50 years remaining, do you want to really tackle the next 50 years being in the situation that you are? And if you don't, then you're going to start thinking, how? How do I get out? So acknowledge the state of being stuck. Awareness is the greatest agent of change. Take stock of your environment, become aware, first of all, of how you got to where you are, what you did right, what you could have done better, and what you got absolutely incorrectly. Because whatever you got incorrectly, you got to completely let go. Whatever you perhaps could maybe adjust, then you adjust. And then there are new things some things that you've done right that you need to repeat. And then the next question is that, what are some of the new things that I didn't get done? What are some of the new skills, some of the new people, some of the new places that I'm going to introduce myself into, some of the new habits that I'm going to cultivate? So there are the old things, and within the old, what is not necessary, what was completely wrong, what could I have done better, and what did I do right, and then build from that. Okay, the research from American Psychology Association says that shows the following: that acknowledging your emotions increases your emotional regulation up to 40%. And when we feel stuck, we tend to feel emotionally overwhelmed. So when you accept your current state, it reduces your anxiety and it unlocks your clarity. Stuckness often stems from emotional overload and over identification with failure. So you need to disassociate yourself from failure and start to associate yourself with the potential to succeed as a way of priming yourself for the next steps that you've got to take. Awareness brings presence, and presence opens the doors to new perception. It's important to let go of old ways of thinking that got you to where you are so that you can make way for new ways of thinking that can get you to the next step where you're going. Number two, reframe the situation. Remember, it's Lou Holtz, right? He says the following: it's not the load that breaks you down, it's the way you carry the load. It's not the load that breaks you down, it's the way you carry load. Well, of course, sometimes, and sometimes the load is just way too heavy. But a lot of the times, if your posture is not right, if your movement is not right, if your balance is not right, then the weight can break you. So as the Harvard researcher found that cognitive reappraisal, meaning that reframing how you view challenge, increases your resilience by 23%. If you start to think, for example, I'm unlucky, something, and you start to apportion the reason why you stuck to something much greater than yourself, then you feel overwhelmed. So be very careful of the language that you use. Instead of asking the question, why me? Rather ask the question, how can I get out? What have I learned? Reframe Reframing turns problems into projects and setbacks, of course, into signals to improve. So language like, I'm preparing for the next step rather than I'm stuck. I'm figuring out what I need to get done next instead of saying I'm overwhelmed and I don't know what to do. The third thing is that you got to declutter your mental and emotional structure. Like your structure can be cluttered with too much information mentally, cluttered with too many experiences that don't help you to view your situation with hope. It's important to declutter and start to think, what experiences have I experienced? Maybe it's betrayals. Okay, if it was a betrayal, what did I know? What did I not know at the time? And what do I know now that I can be able to use in my future relationships? Perhaps you rushed yourself. The lesson is that be more patient and take a bit more time to understand what you are going through. And then realizing that the emotion experienced what you went through, but emotion is nothing but most of the time an indication of what our bodies are experiencing, of what we think in our mind. And so the moment you reframe, then you start to experience different emotions. So the neuroscience studies show that the following: an average person has got more than 6,000 thoughts a day, and that is why it's important to declutter the thoughts. So your mind is overwhelmed with too many thoughts, but taking the time to think, to process, to introspect, to talk to people that you can trust, that can help you to process, to facilitate the thoughts so they can be able to recategorize them in the right categories of thinking to lead to the right outcomes that you want. Because only 15% of our thoughts are new. Almost 85% of the thoughts we're thinking more regularly. And so if you don't do the decluttering, you are then recycling old thoughts. And that's why you stay in the same place. And for you to get out of that and to start looking at a new thing, you need to make space for new thoughts as opposed to recycling 85%, get rid of the old, create some space in your brain, and start to look at your situation differently. Number four, it's important to reconnect with your purpose. Sometimes when we go through life, we start to shift our purpose because of survival, because of the things we need to do in the moment. And then we can stuck in survival mode because some of the things jobs that should have been temporary eventually become permanent because we stayed there for too long. And in staying there for too long, we start to lose sight of our purpose. So, what is that one thing that you have been wanting to do all your life? Is it not time right now to start considering how you get it done rather than looking at it as something that you have lost, as something that you're grieving, as something that makes you feel like you're a failure or that you're settling for something less than what you're supposed to be settling for? What is that? Write those things down. Maybe do a bit of a journaling and start to write down some of the things that got you excited. A 2014 Stanford study reveals the following: that people who are purpose driven tend to live longer, recover faster from stress, and are more motivated. So, purpose provides that mental direction during periods of disorientation. Align your actions with internal meaning, not external pressure. You got to find something that transcends the external because you cannot control the external, but you can be able to control the internal. Because if you don't do this, you're going to find that you're overwhelmed. But purpose helps you to shrink that confusion and helps you then to expand your vision and your horizon. Number five, it's important to design micro action plan. And micro action plan is understanding what Tony Robbins calls small hinges swing big doors. Small door hinges, they swing big doors. And most of the time, it's the small things that actually hold heavy, big things. How do you take a 1,000-mile journey? You take it one step at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One piece at a time. Don't eat an elephant, by the way. That's not a cool thing to do. But the metaphor here or the illustration basically means that to achieve great things, you got to be able. It's okay to start small. The progress principle by the Harvard Business Review says the following: even small wins enhance motivation, emotion, and engagement. Action overrides anxiety. Execution beats overthinking. The sense of achievement uh, um, overwhelms and conquers anxiety. You know, when you're worried about what I want to do, but the moment you start doing some achievement, it it injects that dopamine. The dopamine rises, it injects energy in your body, and then all of a sudden you are feeling energized again. Break your next move into small steps, even if they feel silly. It's okay. Celebrate micro wins. So now let's concentrate on some of the small things that you're achieving to take note of them so that you can see your progress. They teach the brain that movement is safe and rewarding. Don't ever dismiss whatever you've achieved, no matter how small it was. Number six, it's important to leverage relationships and influence. And I think it's one of the challenging things that as human beings we have is that when we're going through a hard time, we tend to want to isolate. We tend to want to hide away from people. And then people that could have potentially have helped us, we didn't know how to help us because we're ashamed sometimes. Maybe we're feeling guilty. Maybe we're looking down on ourselves. But remember that you are the average of the five people with whom you spend most of your time. They can influence you, and you know what? When people know how they can help you, it positions that relationship better to support you. Social influence and support accounts for over 30% of goal achievement. This comes from the Journal of Personality and Psychology and Social Psychology. Reach out. You don't need rescuing, you just need resonance, association, support. So it's there's nothing wrong with letting people that you need their help a little bit. So find safe, growth-minded spaces, mature people, people who have your back, those who don't compete with you, those who want the best for you, to surround yourself with. Too many of us are stuck with people that don't help us to go forward. They discourage our dreams, they laugh at our visions, and sometimes people are intimidated by your vision and even your brilliance, and it kind of benefits them to a degree when they don't when you don't succeed. And it's important to learn that for you to be able to succeed, it's to celebrate, to have people around you that have your back, because influence flows from connection, not control. And then the last thing I want you to do is that I want you then to commit your mindset to the plan that you've got. And you're going to have to probably repeat quite a few of the steps that I've already explained. Repetition is the mother of all learning, Zig Ziglar once said. The neural pathways are strengthened by repetition and focus, according to Dr. Joe Dispenza, who is an expert in cognitive science, neuroscience. Build a habit of momentum, not just action. Remember, to get rid of feeling stuck, you need to have a plan. You need to believe that you can get unstuck. You need to identify the things that are keeping you unstuck. You need to associate yourself with the right environments and the right people. And more than anything, it's important to remember that getting unstuck is not a moment, it's a mindset. You don't need to break free by waiting, but you break free by building, by taking every step at a time. You don't need a breakthrough, you need to break free for you to love, to fly. You need to level up so that you can be able to move up. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Jabu Zwane. I hope that you got something that can help you to get unstuck this evening and to get back on the grind. Over back to you in the studio. Have a great evening. Thank you.